In this step-by-step guide, I will show you how to draw a rope from scratch. Drawing a rope is not as hard as it seems, and with the right tips and tricks, you can create a beautiful looking rope in no time. While it's not always easy, it can be easier when you have the right steps to follow. This step-by-step guide on how to draw a rope will help you to show you how easy and fun it can be. For this tutorial, all you need is a sheet of paper, an HB pencil, 3B and 6B pencils, a blending tool, erasers, and a pencil sharpener. Start by drawing several cylindrical or pipe shapes in the middle of a paper. These lines will serve as the strands of the rope. Draw these lines lightly at first so that they can easily be erased if need be to redraw or fix anything. Decide how thick your rope will be, whether it's going to be lean or narrow, flat and round, or somewhere in between. Once that has been decided, draw the outline with parallel lines using your HB pencil. Your lines doesn't have to look perfect at this point. A good rope looks like it's made up of many individual strands that are twisted together. Always start with a rough sketch first. Getting the basic shapes down on paper before adding any detail will make it easier to draw and you'll be able to work faster as well. Ropes are flexible and can twist and turn in various directions, so feel free to experiment with different shapes. Once that's done, go ahead and move on to finalizing your sketch. Draw the gaps on each rope strand. To give your rope drawing more realistic look, add some texture lines. Draw small overlapping curved lines along the length of the rope to indicate the twists and turns of the fibers. You can use the same HB pencil or switch to a 2B to add the small strokes for details. Draw diagonal lines on both sides of the strands, from one end of the line to another. Drag them from right to left like S shapes. This makes your rope look more realistic. Draw as many diagonal lines as you want, but try to keep it balanced and consistent across your rope. Generally speaking, a rope should always have S-shaped curves on the length. This helps give the illusion of coiling and thickness. It's also important to make sure that the lines are not symmetrical because ropes tend to be messy. These shapes will help guide you as you draw the rope's details. Once you have finished sketching your object, making sure everything is proportional, you can move on to the next level. Now that the outline is complete, it's time to add some shading. Grab your HB pencil and for the first layer, cover the shadow areas and midtone areas with a soft layer of graphite, leaving the highlights white. Pay attention to the angle of the light source and shade each part accordingly. Using the pencil still in hand, a shade over where there are gaps between the anchor lines makes the drawing look realistic. Continue this process until all darker areas has been filled up. Add shadows with hatching marks that look like parallel slanting lines drawn close together next to or at an angle against diagonals already there. Shading can make a drawing look more realistic, but it's important to know when and how much to use. Make sure the edges look darker and get lighter towards the middle. In this step, shade in between each little line that makes up the rope. Don't go over every single line, just some of them. You can always add more later on, so be careful and take your time with this step. Add some details to your rope knot to make it appear more realistic. Add some lines to fill in some areas for more definition and depth by drawing short, thin angles near intersections or along the rope. When you fill in each strand with a different shade, be sure to vary their intensity so some are darker than others for added depth and texture. Once all lines look solid again, pick up a darker pencil. For me, it's a 3B pencil, and get started adding darker values. This will give your drawing depth and dimension, which makes it look better overall. Next, to create the look of a rope, add even more texture to the lines. Draw diagonal lines across the rope section, adding several short lines on the opposite sides. Detail lines are just like shadowing, but instead of a general shading, we create some patterns to make the drawing look like a rope. Drawing a rope can be challenging, but with practice and patience, you can create a lifelike piece. Remember to use your lines carefully and accurately to create texture. Use shading and highlights and practice using a variety of rope thicknesses. Try experimenting with different textures and thickness in the rope to create a natural and organic look. Twist your rope at intersections or along its length for added depth and definition. If done correctly, this is one of the most important parts of making an awesome drawing, so take some time practicing if needed. When shading, go lighter near where light would normally hit, while darker on areas that receive shadows like inside crevices. Make sure these two shades are layered over each other evenly, though otherwise they won't look natural together, which can ruin your whole picture beauty. Use smooth flowing lines to make your drawing look more natural instead of using harsh angles. To get the best result, take your time and follow all of these steps carefully. If you do it properly, you will soon be able to draw a rope realistically. There are many different styles out there, so don't limit yourself by trying to stick with just one opinion. Ropes come in all sorts of shapes and sizes depending on what their purpose is. It's always good to practice before starting any new drawing session to pre-visualize what you want to accomplish and how to do it. Despite this being such an uninteresting object, this is a great subject to practice texture. Once our picture has been shaded completely, we need to add some finishing touches like highlights and detail lines. The more detailed your drawing is in this area, the better. These extra steps really do make a difference with drawing texture. So add some additional details to enhance the realism of your drawing. Add highlights to your rope drawing to make the piece appear more three-dimensional. Use an eraser to highlight the areas reflecting light. Highlight only the parts that stick out more than anything else. And that's it for this tutorial. Thank you for following this tutorial. I'm glad you made it this far. I hope this tutorial was helpful and easy to follow. Let me know which other tutorials you'd like to see on Peonypaint and I'll do my best to bring them to you. Happy drawing and I see you next time.